Welcome to the future.
Oh, I like it when you break down low.
All right, let's take a look at the squat here. Notice that this is a low bar squat, meaning that the bar is actually placed lower on my traps, but the principles are still the same. It just activates glutes more than quads in this particular squat, or at least it accentuates hams and glutes. Take a look at this form. Now look at these angles. Look at how both of these angles are parallel. This is pretty important, especially the spine and the shins angles. Notice my depth. I get down and my quads are about parallel to the ground. This is about my depth, my max depth, because I start experiencing butt wink, and I'm going to show you what that looks like later, which is not a safe place for your spine to be in. Notice the angle of the bar basically drops straight down. I'm a little tight, so it drops a little forward. All right, let's take a look at shoes. Shoes basically need to be flat with not a lot of cushion. So these are soccer shoes, they work great. Chuck Taylors or some specific lifting shoes works great. A belt is something that as you start going up in weight, it will help you with bracing. Now let's look at foot position, which is really important. So when looking at your feet here, the turnout from 0 to 12 is the best place to be. Look what happens when you screw in your feet. When you screw in, you're trying to externally rotate, your knees will track out, which is proper. And this is called a valgus maneuver, and this valgus maneuver is very dangerous for your knees, can cause knee problems. Avoid that at all costs. Now let's look at foot position as far as width. There's wide and extra wide. Feet start to turn out because of flexibility of hips, but not too much. Now let's talk about the setup. First thing you do is you walk up, externally rotate like you're breaking the bar, screw your feet in, glutes tight, core's neutral, step out. Notice that line of travel should be straight down. This is what it looks like from behind. Notice that my glutes are squeezed extremely hard right at the top of the movement. Don't forget to do that. All right, so let's take a look at what a good squat looks like. Feet neutral, screwed in, glutes tight, spine neutral, core tight, okay, breaking the bar when you first walk up to set your shoulders, knees out when lowering down. You can't see this from the side angle, but you'll be able to see it from the back angle. But basically, you want your knees to move outwards, not excessively, but you're using externally rotators in your hip. Now notice how that bar basically travels straight down to midfoot. You don't want to lean forward or back excessively. Now let's take a look at what butt wink is. It's very common. As you go down, watch my pelvis dump right out the back. This is a bad place for your spine to be in. So basically, when we talk about depth of squat, you go down just like about right there before your butt or your pelvis dumps backwards. Now let's look at overextension of the lower back, which is very common when doing squats. Overextend the lower spine or the lumbar spine, and you exaggerate it when you come up to the top without going into hip extension or gripping your glutes. Let's look at what rounded back or flexion looks like. This is a very dangerous place to be as well. So this is the exact opposite of overextension. This is a back injury waiting to happen. Make sure your spine is neutral. This is called the stripper squat or the good morning squat. Notice how my hips come up first. This puts excessive load on the lower back. Let's look at it again. All right, step in, externally rotate, break the bar, step into it, screw your feet in, core tight, grip your butt, lower straight down. See how I lean a little bit forward? It means my hips are a little too tight. So there is a little bit of forward shift on that. That bar should travel straight down, ultimately. The movement should be initiated by breaking at the hips first and then flexing at the knees. Squatting and deadlifting are fundamental human movements. Master them and they have enormous carryover in everyday living. If you neglect them, you'll end up having knee pain, back pain, and you'll avoid them at all costs, and you'll build all kinds of imbalances. Learn how to master the squat. I promise you, you won't regret it.
Welcome to the future.